Hey everybody. Time for Wednesday the 24th. This is day 13. So this is workshop day. They have brought in the almost complete version of their research proposal, everything minus the data gathering documents, which they'll bring in for next class. And this is the time when they've really got to make it functional, make it work, make it effective. So unlike the other workshops that we've been doing so far, this one is about direct improvement of the text, giving feedback, giving advice, critiquing. So what you will see on Canvas is a pretty heavy-duty worksheet of questions and sections for students to write suggestions on each individual part of the research proposal. So they ask for, well, you'll see it when you go there. But it's asking about how convincing the document is, essentially. The function of the research proposal is to convince you, their teacher, that they know enough to carry out the research that they're proposing to do, and that the research they're proposing to do is going to work. They have to convince you of those things, or they're not allowed to do the research. This is the kind of thing where I want you to push them really hard on getting to complete on these. The complete bar is actually not super duper high according to the rubric, so it shouldn't be that hard. But this is the quality control moment when we've got to make sure that the research projects are actually going to be any good and going to work for the students, because there's nothing more frustrating for a student than ending up with a topic they don't like or a project that they've only half thought through and doesn't end up working. So the workshop is totally focused on getting that proposal thoroughly thought through, thoroughly self-contained as a document so that each piece is necessary, concise within its borders of about 200 words or 150 words per section, and those are laid out in the assignment prompt. And convincing. Convincing is the key word here. That's what this genre is about. So the workshop, I say 30 minutes here. I think probably 40 minutes would be even better. You can either group them into into groups of 4, so there's 2 projects there. I think it'd be even better to group them into groups of 6, so they get lots and lots of feedback. You'll need to be sure to bring as many peer review worksheets as there are projects within a group. So if I'm in a group that has 2 other projects in it besides mine, I'm going to write a response to that one and to that one. So I need two worksheets for myself. Okay, and these are kind of long worksheets. So consider that, how you're going to play that out. I think that it's a process that's really worth it, and it should play out well and make sure for stronger results at the other end. Next thing that you should probably do is to get students to sign up for their midterm conferences. You will find on Canvas a grid and a spreadsheet that breaks down the conference availability for midterms week in sort of the way I have it pictured and Kitty has it pictured, which is that next week, and you should tell them this, next week each day has a opening lesson that's about 15 minutes long. It's focused on a specific genre that they're working with. The first one's focused on field notes, which is Project 5. So you're really breaking down how field notes work and helping them understand how Project 5 is going to work. And then you spend the rest of the class time doing one-on-one conferences, broken up into 10-minute increments. And we'll go through sort of the goals of these conferences, and I'll give you some tips if you need them for conferencing at our next staff meeting. On Wednesday next week and Friday next week, you're going to be focusing on research posters, which is, of course, Project 6. So each day you're sort of preparing them for the stuff that's going to happen after the midterm week is over, but the focus of next week is really one-on-one conferences. So there's about 15 minutes of lesson and then 50 minutes or so of conferences each day. You will also have staff meeting time that week. We are not having a staff meeting that week. And of course, you should encourage them to use your office hours for these conferences, and that's included on the grid too. So take a look at that, adjust it, put your times in as makes sense to you. Just know that we're looking for 10 minutes apiece per student. And we'll talk about how these function in a later video. But pass that around, get them all signed up. The remainder of the time is for talking through the genres that are involved in data collection. So you will find on Canvas as well for this day a template that they can use for creating an informed consent form. They need this for interviews. They need some version of this for their surveys or questionnaires as well, though it might be digital in that case. But still they need language for it that they show you. The point of it is that it forces them to name their project. It forces them to explain to their research subjects or participants precisely what they're going to be asking them to do. So it really summarizes down that research methods into a single line that they would actually communicate to a real-world audience, which is the kind of person that they want to be involved in their study. They will get the chance to invite people to be part of their study. So this is a really essential part in their thinking process and in getting it set up so they can actually pull this off in an organized way. What you'll see on the binder lesson plan is it goes through a bunch of different genres and it talks about them in a decent amount of detail. It's essentially almost 4 pages of straight text that I'm writing to you. I would advise making a PowerPoint for this. Where you can just have on the board sort of key points of each of these genres and walk them through it. They're largely intuitive. That an interview guide is where you explain how you're going to run the interviews and you list the questions you're going to ask. An observation guide for place-based observations or for group-based observations. It's where you explain where you're going to go and you list out the kind of things you're going to be looking for, which is again usually phrased as questions. Surveys, questionnaires, those are fairly straightforward. They've just done one, so they should have a decent view of that. So talk through those, make sure that they understand that in order to pass this project, in order to be approved to do their research, these data gathering documents must be done, and they must be done to a high degree of quality, really. This is one of the quality points that matters, because these are going to be used with real human test subjects, potentially, and thus they need to be held to a high standard of effectiveness. The homework for next time is going to be to bring in their proposal draft in its entirety. So all of the 4 sections that they just got feedback on, plus the appendix with their data gathering documents in it. What they're going to be doing next time is showing you their data gathering documents and explaining in a very brief conversation with you what their project's about. So you won't be reading their research proposal next class, but they will be pitching you a part of it, essentially. And they will be showing you their data gathering documents for close inspection. That's about it. It's a heavy-duty day, and it asks a lot of the students, I think, but it's really essential to get these ready to roll so they can start their research.